We are back. So if you like these videos, be sure to like, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell at the top to get all notifications. In Norse mythology, Odin is not only known as the god of war and knowledge, but also as a sage with a majestic coldness. He is not the type of god who acts on impulse or shows off his power. Odin is thoughtful, observant, and always puts knowledge above instinct. This creates a deep contrast with Zeus, the Greek god of thunder and lust. When mentioning Odin, people see a god who can quietly endure, can live among mortals, or even mingle with the despised class without losing his dignity. Odin's coldness is not the icy coldness of indifference, but the calmness of one who has seen through both the glory and tragedy of the universe. Odin is always described as a seeker of knowledge to the point of being willing to trade everything. He sacrificed an eye in exchange for the omniscient gaze from Mimir's well, a symbol of his willingness to sacrifice for wisdom. It was not for power, but for the desire to understand the nature of all that existed. The coldness in Odin's eyes did not come from aloofness, but from having seen too much: war, death, betrayal, and inevitable fate. When everything became too clear, natural emotion became a luxury, and composure was the only thing left. In mythology, Odin hid among the warriors of Valhalla, living as one of them as few other gods ever did. There, he did not demand worship, but quietly observed, felt, and learned how humans faced fate. It was this ability to blend in that made Odin so approachable, but also made him seem so cold that people could not guess what he was thinking. Unlike Zeus, the god who rules by thunder and fear, Odin rules by respect. The Greeks may tremble before Zeus, but the Norse fear Odin in a different way. They fear his wisdom, fear his gaze that seems to penetrate their souls. Odin's coldness is not a threat, but the silence of someone who knows all the endings. He understands that no one, not even the gods, can escape Ragnarok, the end of the world. And because he knows that, he chooses to live as if he has long accepted that fate, without despair, without resentment. Odin's emotions are not dead, just hidden behind the ice of reason. Because in that chaotic world, only those who know how to suppress their emotions can lead others through. What makes Odin admirable is not just his magical power or the power of a supreme wizard. He is a master of words, of runes, ancient characters that have the power to create and destroy. Each inscription, each spell of Odin is not simply magic. It is the crystallization of understanding, of knowledge about the nature of all things. Such a god does not need to prove himself by storms or lightning, but by the wisdom in each decision. Compared to Zeus, who uses thunder to impose, Odin uses knowledge to guide. This difference reflects two civilizations. One worships physical strength, the other honors wisdom and steadfastness. Among the Norse heroes, Odin is always the one who challenges them. Not to torture them, but to let them discover their own limits. He rewards those who deserve it, even though sometimes his way of giving seems cold, almost emotionless. When Magnus or Mallory Keene receive a reward from Odin, it is not just a material reward, but a recognition of something more precious than any treasure. Odin understands that loyalty and courage cannot be forced, but can only be nurtured by respect. That is why, although he rarely shows emotion, he is still a god that many people respect rather than fear. If Zeus represents the power of nature, fierce, spontaneous, and difficult to control, then Odin is the embodiment of wisdom and law. Zeus can be angry and rain down thunder on the earth just because of an insult, while Odin knows how to control himself to achieve a deeper goal. Both are god kings, but one rules with anger, the other rules with understanding. So, when we put them side by side, we realize that Odin's power does not lie in magic, but in the ability to make others look at themselves. It is that coldness, instead of making him distant, that makes Odin the model of a trustworthy god who can take responsibility for the world even when he knows it will collapse. From another perspective, that coldness is also loneliness. Odin cannot share his vision with everyone. When others see victory, he sees the price to pay. When people praise his achievements, he knows it is only the prelude to tragedy. Odin's wisdom makes him isolated from the world he protects, and in that distance, he chooses silence. Silence to observe, to think, and to keep the world on a fulcrum. People call him Allfather, father of all, not only because he created many gods, but because he bears the responsibility of both heaven and earth. A true father does not need to shout to prove his power. He just needs to stand firm when everything collapses. It can be said that Odin's coldness is not a defect, but the inevitable result of wisdom. Because the more one understands, the more one knows how to be silent. Odin chose the path of knowledge, and to reach the end of that path, he was forced to sacrifice his peace of mind. Looking back, we do not see a cruel god, but a sage disguised as a warrior one who is ready to face fate, but never lets fate defeat him. These two gods, though both supreme in their respective worlds, reflect two different ways of thinking about power. Odin rules by knowledge, Zeus by fear. Between them lies the distance of two civilizations. One is cold northern Europe, where people believe that fate is immutable, and only wisdom can keep them steady. The other is glorious Greece, where gods act like giants, full of passion, lust, and pride. Zeus is the god of thunder, of the sky, born of lightning and roar. He represents the force of nature, fierce and uncontrollable. Since the beginning of time, Zeus has used his rage to overthrow his father Kronos and seize the throne of the world. But this domination, however glorious, always has the shadow of tyranny. Zeus punishes rebels not out of justice, but out of pride. He does not seek knowledge, he seeks obedience. In the myths, Zeus often intervenes in human life, not to lead them to knowledge, but to satisfy his own ego or lust. His anger is as swift as thunder, and his mercy is as fleeting as rain. That is the nature of a god born in a world of strong emotions, but lacking in depth. Odin, on the other hand, is a man who knows how to control himself. He does not get angry when challenged, nor is he cruel when punishing. All of Odin's actions are reasoned, considered, and predicted. He sees the consequences before the action even begins. When Odin deals with a problem, he does not use his power to force, but uses his knowledge to control. That is why Odin is not only the god of war, but also the god of words, poetry, and magic. His power does not shine brightly like Zeus's thunder, but spreads silently, persistently like the north wind. If Zeus makes others bow their heads in fear, Odin makes them kneel in awe. Zeus represents the power of nature. Odin represents the power of wisdom. On one side is the explosive fire, on the other is the silent ice. When Zeus is angry, the whole sky shakes. When Odin is pensive, the whole of Asgard is silent. It is in that silence that people feel his authority, a power that does not need to be expressed in a roar, but exists in his gaze, in his words, in his decisions that are considered to every detail. It can be said that Odin does not seek to control the world. He seeks to understand it. Zeus, on the other hand, does not need to understand. He only needs to conquer. Looking deeper, we see in Zeus a hidden fear. He is afraid of losing power, afraid of being betrayed as he once betrayed his father. Zeus's anger, after all, is a veil for insecurity. Every time he rained down thunderbolts on the world, it was not just a punishment, but also a reassertion of his status. Odin, on the other hand, accepted his own mortality. He knew Ragnarok was coming, he knew Asgard would fall and he himself would fall, but instead of panicking, he prepared. He gathered knowledge, trained warriors, passed on wisdom to the next generation. It was the courage of a god who understood that the end was not a failure, but part of a cycle. Zeus sees humans as small, easily manipulated pawns, and sometimes as tools to satisfy his instincts. Many myths tell of Zeus incarnating himself into animals and mortals to approach mortal women, giving birth to hybrid divine children. This action not only shows lust, but also demonstrates a lack of respect for the freedom of others. Odin, though also having children with many goddesses and mortals, has a different nuance. It is a combination of fate and knowledge, not of desire. Odin's children, like Thor or Balder, carry within them a divine purpose, not a product of pleasure, but the result of a mission. Zeus demonstrates power through the ability to punish. Odin demonstrates it through the ability to reward. One uses fear to rule, the other uses respect to guide. In Greek mythology, the savior of the world is spared by Zeus as a favor. In Norse mythology, the hero is honored by Odin with recognition. When Zeus says, "You live because I allow you to," Odin says, "You deserve to live because of your merits." However, what is interesting is that despite their differences, both reflect the human desire for divinity. Zeus is the magnified image of instinct, of emotion, of the desire to dominate, of outraged rage. Odin is the ideal image of wisdom, of thinking ability, of tolerance, of the sense of limitation. Both are mirrors of humans, but in two different dimensions. Zeus is the human before he can control himself. Odin is the human after he has transcended his emotions to understand his nature. If one had to choose a leader in the apocalypse, many would choose Odin. Not because he is more powerful than Zeus, but because he is more trustworthy. Zeus can bless one moment, then destroy the next. Odin, on the other hand, does not grant blessings on a whim, but when he makes a promise, it is ironclad. In the chaotic world of myth, that consistency is more precious than any lightning bolt. On the surface, Odin is a cold, silent, and calculating god. He does not laugh loudly, does not sing, does not indulge in boisterous parties like many other Norse gods, but hidden deep inside that appearance is a warm heart, where kindness is not revealed through words, but through actions and understanding. The so-called coldness of Odin is actually a cover for deep compassion, the compassion of a god who has witnessed too much suffering and knows that only the strong can save the weak. Odin understands the nature of pain. He once hung himself on the world tree Yggdrasil for 9 days and 9 nights, without food, water, or aid, to attain the ultimate knowledge of runes, the sacred language of the universe. In that solitude, Odin not only learned the secrets of magic, but also understood the meaning of sacrifice. The price of knowledge is not glory, but loneliness. And it is from that loneliness that his kindness is tempered not with pity, but with deep empathy for the soul struggling with fate. When Odin helps people or warriors, he does not give them grace easily. He tests them so that they can realize their true strength. For those who are given opportunities by Odin, it means they have to face their own fears and limitations. It is a rational kindness that is not blind salvation, but helps others learn to save themselves. Odin's coldness is therefore educational. It is the severity of a teacher, of a father who knows that if only pity is given, people will forever be weak. Odin does not appear with a dazzling halo, but transforms into an old wanderer with a gray cloak and a hood pulled down over one eye. He travels the lands, listening, observing, and sometimes helping those he deems worthy. His help is often as small as a word of advice, a mysterious gift, or just a look, but it has the power to change fate. This reflects Odin's philosophy. Kindness does not need to be ostentatious. The fewer words, the deeper. The fewer promises, the more trustworthy. What makes Odin's kindness special is that it always comes with responsibility. He does not believe in easy salvation. Every favor carries a price. For Odin knows that power without knowledge can be a curse. When he gave runes to mankind, he not only gave power, but also the burden of knowledge. Those who know too much will no longer have peace. But Odin believes that knowledge is the only way for mankind to survive in a cruel world. His kindness is therefore not as gentle as light, but as hard as steel tempered by fire. To his heroes, the warriors who fell in glory and were brought to Valhalla, Odin was not just a rewarder, but a companion. He understood the price of victory, understood that every soul in that hall had once given their life for honor. So he respected them as equals, not subjects. It was a kindness built on respect, not pity. Odin did not see humans as tools to serve the gods, but as allies in the fight against chaos. In many legends, Odin has committed seemingly cruel acts, such as sacrificing innocent people or deceiving other gods, but all of them are aimed at a greater purpose, maintaining the order of the universe. He understands that morality does not always coincide with justice. Sometimes, to maintain peace, one must accept a bad reputation. That is why Odin is not afraid of being judged. He acts not out of honor, but out of responsibility. In that coldness, there is the kindness of someone who dares to take on the sins of others. If Zeus is the god of desire and ostentation, then Odin is the god of duty and self-awareness. He does not need anyone to praise him, because he knows the value of action does not lie in praise. When he rewards Magnus or Mallory, he does not say flowery words, but quietly acknowledges. For Odin, recognition is the greatest reward because it cannot be taken away, does not fade with time. His kindness was thus subtle and profound, like ice slowly melting underground, silently nurturing life without anyone seeing it. So guys, that's it for now. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Love you.